What's up guys, Tony Hannity's here from Lazy Tech TV, and finally this is the full review of the Google Pixel XL. Stay tuned. I've already done about 3 to 4, maybe 5, I can't even count, but at least 4 videos related to the Pixel XL. One was an impressions video, one was for the launcher specifically, and then 2 videos talking about the 5 main features that are either pro the Pixel XL or con the Pixel XL. So I'll put those either in the description below or in that little question mark box up there. You can figure it out. But I'm gonna talk very specifically about the device. And if you don't know about the Pixel XL, these right here are all the specs, the main specs related to the XL. Pixel's 5 inches, this is 5.5, and for me, the larger screen is really the more beneficial of the two regarding the screen real estate, how it feels in my hand. I mean, the really nice thing about this is that it overall is weighted very nicely, and I believe I've talked about this in the past already, but the idea is between the top and the bottom, there's a very minute, very thin wedge shape, and you can see that. You'll see it's thinner at the bottom and a little bit thicker at the top, and when you're holding it in hand up to your ear, or just as you're doing your twittering or Pokemon going, whatever it is that you do at a day-to-day basis, it just feels nicer and it feels solid. The material that HTC used, and HTC is the company that actually manufactured the Pixel and Pixel XL, is very similar to what they've done with even the HTC 10, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. HTC's been a very good manufacturer for devices for many years. They've just been having some hiccups when it comes to the software. When Google had the Nexus program with Huawei, even HTC back in the day, and Asus and others, Google didn't have 100% say as to how the physical design would be integrated with the software design. Now they do. One might say the Nexus project was that, a project, a beta project. This is the final incarnation of all of that. It's kind of a downer, and I get it. Going back to the Pixel, the one downside about it is that it's this. It's not very descriptive. Like, this is Google's final concept, the thing that they've been waiting for so long, and it looks like this. It's not amazing. It's nice, but is it really about the physical nature of the device? Well, to a certain degree. I mean, we all use, I have a very, with all due respect, a very simple case for the phone, and some people want the phone to be a fashion statement for them, and that's kind of what Apple does with the iPhone. It's just a very nondescript front. Now the rear, on the back side of it, you've got the glass panel up at the top, and then your aluminum down here at the bottom. And if I could go back in time and choose one of the 3 colors, I would probably go with the black one, because the biggest issue I have with this isn't the chin. I got over the chin. The chin's fine. I have a chin, this has a chin. You get over the chin. But the issue that I have more so with this white face is this proximity sensor right here, dead set in the center. What is up with this proximity sensor? I don't know. I don't get it. I understand it's the adaptive brightness and the fact that if you have the phone laying flat and then you bring it up to you, it goes from dim to bright automatically. That's useful. Yes, I get it, but it's just too much. I'd go with the black if I were you. The phone is super snappy. The UI, the Pixel launcher, is really responsive, and even if you aren't coming from a Nexus 6P, you can be as simplistic as iOS, where you just have your icons in your circles or squares. They're trying to do circles. I get fine, whatever. Or you can go one step further and have some widgets. I have some widgets here, mostly music widgets and podcast widgets. And then a new feature to Android 7.1 is that if you long press some of the icons, it'll give you capabilities for you to quickly access some shortcuts. Like with Maps, you can quickly get navigation to home or work. With email, you can quickly compose things. And that is really up to the developer of each and every single application if they want to add that to their functionality. Another big feature of the Pixel launcher is Google Assistant. Okay, Google, tell me a joke.
Here you go. Did you hear about the world's largest pickle? It's a really big dill.
Oh God, full of dad jokes. Google Assistant is going to be integrated into other applications like Allo, and that's already started. And obviously when the Google Home becomes more prevalent, more and more, very similar to the Amazon Echo, you are going to be using not Google Now, but Google Assistant. Google Assistant is a combination of Google Now and Google Now on Tap. And even here, I very rarely use Google Now on Tap, but there are little hooks, little steps that I'm starting to see in Google Assistant where Now on Tap does find a placeholder to be used as I go throughout the day. Headphone jack at the top, not a DAC, but at least there's a headphone. Get USB Type-C at the bottom, and it does do 7 hours worth of battery life in a 15-minute charge, according to the documentation. For me, it took a little bit longer, and I'm using the cables that it came with and plugging into the wall properly. I don't know why. Maybe there's a setting, but for whatever reason, it's not charging as quickly as advertised. But what's very impressive to me are these speakers at the bottom. Now, I'm a big proponent for front-facing speakers, and there's like maybe one company out there that's still doing front-facing speakers. But moreover, I'd rather have them at the bottom than on the rear like I've had with past phones. But these speakers are actually pretty loud. Sound doesn't get clipped, it doesn't get muffled. I mean, if you put your hand over it, it gets, but just coming out of the speakers just naked like this, it's not too bad. And back to the battery. Again, I don't know why it's not charging as quickly as it's supposed to, but in any event, as my day goes by, it's fine. It's not great. It's not as good of a battery life as I thought it was gonna be. Now, mind you, my day is a little bit different than most days. I've always got something running on my phone. I'm always using my phone for something, for pictures, for video, everything. So the fact that I get maybe an extra hour per day is useful, sure, but it's not as much as I thought, even with Doze and Doze on the go. So am I disappointed? A little bit, but at least it's an hour that I didn't have before. And finally, the big thing that all of you have been wanting to know, does this meet the expectations of the camera? Whole bloody hell yes. This camera is by far the best camera that I've taken. Now, it's two things. It's the camera and it's also the screen. This AMOLED screen, this QHD AMOLED screen doesn't wash out the colors, but it also doesn't oversaturate the colors. What you see is what you get. And when you take photos in HDR+, which is by default the setting when you take your photos on the rear camera, which is 12.3 megapixels, the photos are impeccable. About 99% of the time, and that is not hyperbole, 99% of the time, the photos that you take are going to be amazing. It's just amazing the amount of software that Google has implemented into the photography for this phone. And a lot of it is software. There's no OIS. And for those that have followed previous videos, OIS was a big standard for us, but now Google has proven to us that you don't need OIS. In addition to that, taking video, when you turn on video stabilization, which I believe is by default anyways, the phone is almost like on a gimbal-like track. It's pretty cool. I'm walking alongside Toys R Us in this video right here, and my hands aren't shaking that much, but at the same time it doesn't feel like you're gonna get motion sickness. It's very, very impressive. I don't have the means to render 4K video on my current computer, but this does do 4K. And although this only has 32 gigabytes of internal storage, or you can go all the way up to 128 gigs if you want, Google is offering their Pixel and Pixel XL uses a free backup service for not high quality photos, not high res photos, full resolution photos, raw photos, 4K video uploads into Google Drive. That alone is amazing. And at the end of the day, all I have to do is just go into Google Photos, free up space, and it deletes all the photos that are on the phone that have already been backed up to Google. So is it worth getting a 120 gigabyte model? Well, it depends on how many apps you have installed. If you're a pro photographer and you want to have all the options of the photos that you've taken so you can edit those and post, that's up to you. But at least for me, 32 gigs is fine, at least for now. The only issue that I've had with the camera, sometimes I'll get a little lens flare. a little halo in the corner. Now, that really depends on how the light is reflecting, not reflecting, but refracting. I said reflecting, what the word? It all depends on how the light is refracting off of the object or the person or whatever it is that you're trying to take a picture of, and it might bounce off in a certain angle to the lens and create this kind of bell curve kind of lens flare in the corner. For some people, it's like straight across the screen itself, and it takes you out of the photo and the photo's ruined. I haven't experienced that much. I'm not saying it never happens. It does. Arguably, I could crop it out in post. Google has noticed this. Even DxOMark noticed it to a certain degree, and Google said that they are working on a fix to fix it. So maybe in the next month or so we'll see a fix for the Google camera application so it gets rid of that, but it's all software. The Pixel is not for everybody, especially in the world that we live in now, where you can get devices like the OnePlus 3 that is half the price of the Pixel and it has some amazing specifications. 6 gigabytes of RAM, can you believe it? That's insane. But if you want a device that was created by the company that you were using the operating system of, this is it. Much like Apple does with iPhone or Microsoft does with Surface, you want to have a perfect marriage where the company has painstakingly looked at everything around the phone in a physical nature to make sure it works cohesively with the software. This is very smooth. It's like butter, which is an API they did. Applications don't stutter. Snapchat works like a dream. The GPS and battery life on something like Pokemon Go, load time's a lot better, but overall the battery still sucks. And what's really nice is when I turn the phone off and I turn it back on, it doesn't have to redraw the application. So many times, even on the Nexus 6P that I've tested, you would turn the phone on, it would take a split second for the apps to populate on the home screen. So that's pretty much it. Go check out the Pixel at your local store. Best Buy, they have them there, or if you're a Verizon customer, you can get that there too. And that's the last thing I'm going to mention here. When you get the Pixel from Verizon, there's no Verizon logo. So Verizon and Google were able to come to some sort of consensus where you could get a very clean vanilla Pixel from Verizon, finance it through Verizon, and there's nothing on here except the very familiar Verizon, well, how Verizon does their bars for LTE, but that's it. All the Verizon bloatware on here, you can remove. Hell, I could remove my Verizon, the application to manage my account, off of this. Hell, I can put the T-Mobile application on here to manage my T-Mobile account, if I had one, and put a T-Mobile SIM card in here, because it's unlocked. I can't say enough good things about this. Yes, it's not perfect. It's bland, very nondescript. It's not waterproofed. But everything else, in my opinion, outweighs all of that. I haven't had a slowdown. The battery life, like I said, is a little bit better. Screen is immaculate. And the photos, something that I take every single day, personal and work, I can't ask for a better camera. At least not right now. That's what I think about the Pixel XL. If you have any questions or comments related to this, make sure you leave that in the description below. And I possibly answered any of those in the previous videos, which, like I said, I'll link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching. Please thumbs up this video, like this channel, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Lazy Tech TV. If you want to follow me directly, my information is, again, in the description below. You guys have a good one. Late.